Welcome back to Super Sentai Review, episode number 148. This one I'm discussing episode 37 through 48 of Flashman. Yes. 39 to 40 are simply put 4 standalone episodes. The first one is tie up a loose plot thread from episode 20. It involves the return of the episode of the girl Sasumari, where it turns out the reason why she's psychic, they give an explanation of why she's psychic and what the connection to Dai is. Yeah, the explanation for that is, well, they explain two things about her. One, she's dead. She's been dead for 8 years prior to the events of the series. And apparently the reason why she has connection to Dai is because she has something called the Green Star, which apparently was one of the planets in the Flashes which exploded, which is where Dai gets his powers from. So that's the reason why for that. And does this crystal play a role in the series of this episode? Nope, it doesn't. The remaining episodes does not make this crystal at all. And you might be curious, is there a reference to the whole thing of the downfall of relation between Masa and the alien hunters? There's nothing really mentioned in that one here. 38, yes, there is. Yeah, 38 basically. It's like, oh, let's have the Flashman get brainwashed by Crowler to basically try to kill the Flashman. And there's hints of basically Keflar's identity. There's mentions in this one. There's a little bit more of this one than was in 36. And pretty much in the way, we also have it where we kind of celebrate the birthday of Jin when he first arrived in the Flash system. They don't know his actual birthday. So, of course, they still should figure out who his parents are. So, oh, by the way, for most government for Sumri, at first Dai thought that Sumri was actually his sister. Turns out she is not his sister at all. Nope, that was simply something he thought that was happening, but nope, not really. I'm sure probably the actors are related in real life because they look very similar to each other. Yes, there's nothing to do with the fact they're Asian, just that their faces look very similar, so I wouldn't be surprised in real life these two are in fact brother and sister, or at least somehow related to each other. So, in the case of 38, where you have the whole episode with the Flash are hunting Red Flash, the whole episode, and the only way it's stopped is by Dr. Keffel, who doesn't like basically Carla very much. He sends out Wanda. He's like, I'm going to kill Red Flash. I give orders from Dr. Keffel to kill him personally. And somehow, basically, he takes his sword during the fight and uses the sword to basically cure the Flash of the brainwashing. And the monster of the episode, which, by the way, uses mass to brainwash people. Yeah, the masks are all destroyed by the end of the episode. And there's stuff related to it. And, of course, here's a little strange little thing. Now, by the next time we see Wanda, he's got his sword back. In the case at the end of the episode, it's like, how does Wanda get sword back? I mean, his killer sword was simply taken from him in 38, and by next time we see him, he's got his sword back. Do not know the explanation for that. It's kind of weird. 38 feels like pretty much filler for this one, where it's all about viewing embarrassing thoughts thanks to glasses. Yeah, and of course, she just happens to be, just by sheer coincidence, the first one I hear that song. And apparently she wants to feel like I have a love. And oh, by the way, in the case of love, this also kind of ties with a little bit with episode 37, where one of the things Summer wanted to do was fall in love, and that happened. And she had to go, and they kind of ran for character by having her go to heaven. I am not kidding. So basically, Summer is retconned to be a ghost. It's almost like basically the reason why they brought her back, for a couple reasons. One, they knew the series was wrapping up really soon. And two, they really had no idea what to do with the character. That's probably the reason why they wrote her off. This one doesn't really develop much of anything at all. A little bit of development for Sarah, but not much. Yeah, not much at all. 40 is basically all about where people are taken to like a city. And the episode itself is very similar to what happened in Mega Ranger / also in space, where people were taken from abducted to the city, and of course the Flashman had to rescue them. We also find out that the person who's supposed to be the executioner is actually somebody who's rebelling against Crawler, because she actually became normalized thanks to reading a book that apparently Jin left behind when he was abducted by the alien hunters. This book apparently was in his hands, and the girl read it, and she kind of basically fell in love with Jin, and she kind of basically died by the end of the episode. Yeah, that was kind of weird. We use a female hunter, and then she dies at the end of the episode. Yeah. And then we have 40 return of the Takamura family. First time since episode 30 they've been seen. And they became a big role throughout the remaining episodes. So they're not there for the next couple. So they tease the whole thing of possibly that Dai might be the one who might be their child. But thanks to being attacked, Mrs. Tamar, they have figured out, oh yeah, I remember the baby. It was a girl. So possibly, either Sarah Lou is possibly her daughter. Not revealed here yet. They will that basically later on. 42 is a tiny bit of development, this one. It's more development basically of more finding out who the parents are while dealing with basically. Also, you have Sarah going to the Earth Observatory, which apparently has UFO records. Now, you would think something like this is the military. Now, if this was the U.S., they would keep it locked up tight. Would not allow the public to handle this stuff. It would be top secret, like top secret stuff. Japan probably doesn't believe something like that, possibly because it's a different type of culture. So she does find out there was a UFO, but she has not figured out what parents are. And it was on a floppy disk. You're thinking, a floppy disk? Some of you might be asking, Nick, what the heck is a floppy disk? A floppy disk was a piece of plastic you stuff into a computer. Basically, the size of it is equivalent to... it's basically like a flat-size book. Let's see. Excuse me. Compared to this CD, this is, of course, a Tim McGraw CD, obviously. Think of this basically a bit square, much more square-like, defined squared. It was plastic, got a little bit of film on it. It basically is kind of like an early version of a USB drive. That's simply put what the purpose of the damn thing was. My dad remembers these damn things because he used them. There was also a joke on basically top of the fourth wall about floppy disks and CD-ROMs. Yep. So, thing gets destroyed, and a tiny bit of development here, but not much there. In the case of 43, ooh boy. Yeah, this basically... Now, when I saw this episode, I'm like, oh, I know who you are. Because I read up basically who this guy is. Yeah, basically 43 is debut of the character Bo Garden. The second command, basically is Crawler's right-hand man. I love his debut, where he shows up, he just shows up his boots, his chest, and he shows up his face. He's also got like a mark on his face. And he looks a bit younger than Crawler. You could say he's kind of like Crawler's younger brother, or it could be like his son. Possibly, yes. And it's also in the very same episode that apparently the doctor is like, hey, why don't we use your alien hunters to make a monster? Yeah, so, by the way, the thing is, oh yeah, we're going to suck at these monsters and create a new monster, like the power of our current monster. One who gets away, and of course, well, Bun does basically try to help it. And he does. He will get back to the hunters. And Crawler's actually thankful. He's actually very grateful for protecting one of his hunters. One of his precious hunters, as he calls them. And then they're taken by a mass and turned into basically converted to a monster. Yeah. This is something, and of course, Bo Garden himself basically, unlike Crawler, his main weapon is a whip. Bo Garden is simply referred to as a space wanderer, unlike Crawler, who is a bounty hunter. But damn good, basically, this character. And he's here for the next 7 episodes. Good on him. No, this kind of is basically a prelude. And basically the alien hunters, because the alien hunters are left are just Bogart and Crawler. So they separate from Mass. They come their own separate group away from Mass. Yep. And then we have basically, well, they kind of leaves the whole thing with the alien hunters. Mm-hmm. Where, beginning with episode like 44, we begin a 7-episode endgame arc. You thinking 7 episodes? Really? Like, isn't that almost as long as a Live Man endgame arc? Yes, it is. I thought it was 5 episodes. No, turns out it was 7. 7 episodes. Wow. Now, you could say that 41 and 43 are simply just like 43 is a prelude to it, and you could say that 41 is simply like I said it for, but 43 is definitely a prologue to it. So we have this thing where the next episode we take the DNA of people and just turn them monsters, characters, separate series. First is 44, it's the alien hunters, and 45 is 2 cat girls, one of them anyways, turned monster. That would end up being their final appearance in the series. Yeah, they get pretty much killed off there. In 46, we have where Nefla, where she gets cloned and the monster gets destroyed, but she apparently died in the episode, but she comes back in the very next episode. Juan himself, basically next episode, just volunteers. That monster created based on his DNA, and he gets defeated by episode 47. Yep. And then at the end of basically 47, Bogart is taken by Nefla, who actually has survived her defeat, takes him back to the mess ship, and they proceed to turn him into a monster. He's able to the weird thing is they turn back and forth, which I think is kind of weird. So he's able to be free thanks to the genetics. Now, apparently in episode 44, there's this thing called the genetic splice that was made by Dr. Chogofa, where he was kidnapped by Crawler to basically make this damn thing. He succeeded. And playing music and mess up the Emperor to us. Yeah, messes him up. And then eventually, after Bogart is free from the control of, well, being a mass warrior at that point, though he's able to turn back later, they're able to actually break into the ship, destroy like a lot of the grunts, and kill the main villain of the series. Now, at this point, this is only the second time I have ever seen this, where the lead villain gets killed off prior to the finale. The only time I've ever seen this happen was actually in, you might be thinking, was it Denji Man? Nope, it was actually Sun Vulcan. Yep, Sun Vulcan, where the main villain is killed off, like, I think it was like about 4 episodes before the finale, they killed off Hell Saturn. This is like very similar to that, but wow, kind of balls. Oh yeah, by the way, they revealed the Emperor is actually just a bunch of liquid. So, and Bogart gets turned into a monster, goes giant size, and he's destroyed by the Flash Titan. Yep. And Crawler decides to basically, of course, he's wounded in the episode. He's going to be a part of people taking Sarah, and also it's confirmed by him, Dr. Teflon, and the Flashman that one of them is Dr. Teflon's child. Which one is it? They won't find out till the last couple episodes of this particular series. But damn, we're slowly wrapping up this run. Now, I would go to Overlord, but I got a couple episodes left to go, so I figured get these done, do the review, and then basically just work on Overlord. I'm just going to go ahead and work on it. Okay? Next video. Bye.